see my screen. Yep. Okay. So yeah. So I think we discussed about this. So overall, this field of computer science is used in most of these companies, and I think in this specifically, what is machine learning, right? So under the category of AI, which is a field of computer science, in that there is machine learning is a way of involving designing algorithms, basically that basically computers will learn from the data and then they make decisions or predictions based on the historical data. So that is what is machine learning in specific in under the category of AI, right? Um, and inside that, what is deep learning, right? So deep learning is again a special type of ML based on artificial neural networks. In that, especially we deal with mostly unstructured data, where the data will be in form of images, audio, and text, right? So in this space, it works on a concept of neural networks, how the typical brain will work, and how the neurons are connected across. It's a similar concept where it will learn from the way how the data is coming in and how it processes the data, and then how this is structured, how it will work on the unstructured data, and then based on it makes a correlations, like how we see in this diagram. It makes a relationship between the data that is coming in. So that is what is um, sorry. That what is deep learning is, right? So in summary, we saw what is computer science at a high level. Under that, artificial intelligence, and then machine learning under the deep learning, right? So and we'll go into see where this GenAI will fit in, which will come in successive slides. But before that, um, in the machine learning space itself, right? So how is it different from a traditional coding versus how this machine learning is slightly different, right? So in terms of that, so typically in traditional coding where you write in Java or whatever languages, right? So you generally give the rules to the software, right? And also you give data to the software, and based on that, it will it will based on some logic, it will give answers. That's how we saw all this programming, right? So we give input, for example, addition of the program, right? So you say you write a code saying add two numbers, a plus b, right? And you give what is a and what is b, and it will give answer a plus b, right? So, but typically in the machine learning it is slightly different, where the machine learning where we give the data and also we give answers, and based on that it will machine learning will come with a pattern or rules, right? So you not write the code now for a plus b. So basically you will tell this is A and B, and also the answer, if you do A plus B, this is the answer. You give that also as input. And then machine learning will understand from the pattern, like, okay, this is, if I give A and B and this answer is coming as this, so which means it is A plus B, right? So that a pattern that it comes, it evolves on the fly. So that is the typical difference between a machine learning and traditional coding, right? In that, especially if you go to that, what are the types of machine learning, right? So uh, there are most commonly these are the most three patterns that we see in machine learning. So mostly it is supervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised. So supervised space is where you give a labeled data to the machine learning, and then you give a training to it, and then you get a model, right? So and now to this model, you give a new image, it can predict that it is a dog, right? So that is basically, if you look at here, you're giving the label data. So this labeling is very important. In image supervised learning, you need to label and tell that this is dog, right? Basically, you're giving a dog picture, and also you're telling it is a dog, right? That's what is on the previous slide. You're giving data and answers also you're giving it. So basically, this is data, and then you're telling it is an answer, which is a dog, right? So and then it goes to training, and then it understands that, okay, these are all any images of this type is dog. So now we give a new input, then it can automatically predict. That's what is supervised learning, right? And then in the context of supervised learning further, so it can you can likewise, there's a simpler version, but you can also give various information like dog, cat, rabbit, and all these things you can give, and then tell and label it, saying that this is always rabbit, this is always cat, right? So, and then you give that input to the model, and model will understand over a period of time. And basically here you're relying on the label data. That's a very important keyword. And then it also learns from the historical data to predict the future values, right? It's more of a prediction aspect. It understands the past data and then predict the future. So that's where the supervised learning shines, right? So that's the area of supervised learning. In some cases where you will not have labels for some use cases, right? So you'll have images, but you don't have labels. Okay, so that in that space, I think unsupervised learning will come into picture. Unsupervised learning, so you will just give data, but you'll not give labels, right? And then you train it, and then model will understand the data, and then it look for patterns. And then okay, these are all similar images, so these two could be dog, right? It patterns like this, right? Similarly cat, right? And then rabbit. So it does a prediction based on that. So in unsupervised learning, it without labeling, it can understand and can come with a prediction, and it based on the patterns that is there in the data. Um, and then in this, basically the main keyword is it doesn't need a label data in this case, and also it finds implicit patterns in the data. So it gives an implicit pattern. It detects implicit patterns and then make a patterns accordingly. Right? Next is the third item, which is semi-supervised learning. Right? So semi-supervised learning is a mix of the previous two, where in some cases where you have labeling and in some cases you don't have labeling, right? You have both labeling and unlabeling together. You can give that as an input, give that train that model, and then now give a new input and can interpret it as a rabbit, right? So because it knows that these are all labeled, so but when you give data, it can predict it. So it's a combination of both unsupervised and supervised together. Okay, where you have labeled and unlabeled together. Right. So here it is again, as I said, it's a mix of supervised and unsupervised, and here the advantage in this semi-supervised learning is it needs a smaller data set with the labels to train. So even if you have a smaller data set, it is sufficient. So the use case is based on there are three. We saw three models, right? So the three types, you can depending on the use case, the input data that you have, based on that you will generally decide that okay, for since I have label data, I should go for supervised. I don't have label data, then unsupervised. Mix of batch, then semi-supervised. That's how you for a given use case you decide which will be suiting for you, right? So now we understood what are these three, right? So and then this is what is called deep learning, right? So why I'm telling deep learning, because this GenAI will come under the category of deep learning. So and also you have the context of all these three types of learning also. So with that, so if we could look at what is deep learning, right? So it's basically it's a type of machine learning where it is inspired by the human brain, where where we usually human brain works in a concept of neurons, where it tries to map all the data and it connects them, right? So it has all the history, it stores all the history, what we did yesterday, what we did 1 year back, and it stores the history, right? And then whenever a new instant comes, it sometimes related to some past. So okay, I met Sham 1 year back, right? So, but now I'm meeting him again. Okay, it stores this picture of Sham somewhere in the brain, and it relates it. Okay, I met this person before, right? So that's how the brain works. So in similar cases in deep learning, also it is similar way where multiple interconnected neurons form a network, and that will detect the given incident is valid or not. So that's how the deep learning works. So it is basically a very interesting field in machine learning where it can be used for all the three forms of unsupervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised. Um, and in the last 10 years, I mean, this is there from very old, but only in the last 10 years, this deep learning field has gone a significant improvement, and a lot of R&D is all investment is all happening in the deep learning space, right? So now if you connect all these dots, right? So what have we learned so far? So overall, there is artificial intelligence, which like basically defines how to bring intelligence to computers. That's what is artificial intelligence is all about. Under that hierarchy, we saw machine learning, which is one type of AI, right? Under that, the deep learning, which is a concept works on neural networks, right? So for all these things, you at the end for this all these things for training, you need a high-end CPUs and GPUs, right? So that is what you need a compute, right? So if you see all this AI, ML, and deep learning, and in this variation of supervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised, right? So that all these concepts will come together, and in that, especially, you need a compute, and that's what you get from high-end CPUs and GPUs. And here in this space, well, if you look at where is GenAI will come in. So GenAI is basically a subset of deep learning. If you see here in this, there is the same deep learning. There's one other subset for under deep learning, and in this, especially, we look the data that we get is in the form of subsets, and based on subsets, a GenAI will detect what is a pattern. So in this, before going to that more into GenAI, so basically, how is GenAI different from a typical discriminative AI, right? So GenAI is a we'll understand more in terms of what is generative AI, but in that, how is it different from a typical discriminative AI? Is basically discriminative AI works on a concept of classification prediction. That's where it really shines, where it generally goes to supervised learning, and also it needs a labeled data set. So with all these things, mostly if you use the data. So let's say we're looking at this diagram, so we can make out. So it classifies green and blue, right? So it separates them. And also it can do a prediction. So in this space, the discriminative AI will shine. And in that, especially the supervised learning is mostly applicable. When you say supervised learning, you need a labeled data set. So that's where most commonly discriminative AI is used. But whereas Gen AI, it works on a large unlabeled data set. That's what is important. It is Gen AI works on the concept of unlabeling. So unlabeled data set, because when most of you use ChatGPT in some form, right? So when you're entering the ChatGPT is where you give input and it can give you the content back, right? So it is the basically if you're not giving, you're just giving random text, right? You're not giving any labeling information, like saying, like, for example, you're not telling, okay, you're not training the model saying that, okay, this is cat and this is dog and all. You're not telling it. You're randomly asking question and it is giving. So basically the random question you're asking is not it is unlabeled data. So basically, you are giving unlabeled data in the generative AI context, and it understands the distribution of data and also generates a new data. So that is what is a keyword, right? So it generates a new data. So when you give input to ChatGPT, it is generating a new data for you. You can ask question like, as you know, like what is the time zone in US, right? So it knows that, and it can use that information. It generates a new data. Also, can you write a write up for me for to present in as pre-sales, right? So I want this pre-sales RFP to be written, and this is the context, and it can write a data for you. It will generate data for you. Basically, it is generating new data for you, right? So that is what is generative AI is. Um, yeah. Okay. So if you look at how is this discriminative AI versus generative AI, they differ, right? So in this discriminative AI, where you give a model, and discriminative AI, which basically it works on a classification concept. It classifies whether the input is a dog or a cat, right? And then get an output saying this is dog, right? But if you look at generative AI, it generates data, right? So which means you're giving an image of a dog with goggles, right? If you're giving an input like that, and then it generates a dog image. You're giving input that I need a dog image with goggles, then it generates a new image, and the result could be different than what you gave as input, right? So that is what it generates a new data also. So, and also you can give input either in form of text, or you can give in form of image. I mean, the image is more GPT-4, which is now it can accept image also as the input. But older version of GPT, we don't have that. But at least you can tell in the GPT-4, you can upload an image and tell that okay, this is the input. of the image with the goggles, can you generate a similar image, probably with the cooling glasses or the black glasses or something like that. You can give inputs and then can generate a new image for you. Right? So it is so in summary that's the difference. So if this is the crux of how is a normal machine learning versus a generative AI will differ. Right? So if you understand this slide, that is what is input, the primary takeaway. So here, mm, yeah, I know, but mm, yeah, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. So the advantage is that it generates a new data, right? So that is a difference compared to a traditional AI, right? So it will traditional AI will just understand and gives a prediction. That's all, right? But it will not generate new data for you. But whereas the Gen AI, it generates a new data. So that's where it shines, right? Yeah. So continuing further, right? So another angle of the same concept, where how is it discriminate AI different from a Gen AI, right? Then discriminate AI, you give data and also give labels, and there's a ML model which will learn the relationship between this data and the label, right? And then it can output a new set of labels or data, right? So, but whereas in Gen AI, where you this unstructured content that you give as input, and it learns the patterns in this unstructured content, and the output that you get is a new content. So that is again a new content is a keyword, right? So you get a new content from the structured input. the unstructured input. Sorry. Um, and then there is one more view to this, where in a typical discriminative AI, you give input to the ML system and output that you typically get. The input, for example, like predicting the fuel efficiency, right, detecting anomalies, right. So these are very common use cases. So in that case, the output will be generally in terms of either a number, or it could be a discrete value, or it could be a class or a probability. So this is what a typical output that you get for a given use case in a discriminant AI. Whereas a generative AI, the output is typically in terms of a natural, either it could be a natural language text, it could be an image, it could be video, or it could be audio, right? The ChatGPT case, it's a natural language text, so it is giving output in form of text. But there are models which can work on image. It can generate a new image for you. Um, so given a image, and then say Sham, I want to see him in New York under a Times Square, right? So that if you give it as an image, and can you generate an image for it, right? It can generate an image for you, right? Similarly goes with videos. It can generate a video and it can generate an audio also. So audio is more into understanding your language, and then talking to just like another human, right? That's where audio. If you give you can also do a translation. Okay, you can give a video of language in Tamil and then ask him to translate that to Telugu, right? That is possible. So that is where the audio will come into picture. So in summary, you get output in terms of these forms in generative AI, right? Whereas in your typical use case, you will have this output will be in the mostly it will be a number or discrete value or a class or probability. So that's what is a typical discriminative AI output. Right? So yeah, so I think with this context, right, you hope you understood what is Gen A at a high level, right? And how is it different from a typical AI, right? So if you understand this with that context, probably let's move deep into what is the basics of Gen A, which is the foundation model, right? So the concept of foundation model is very important to understand, because your GenAI works on this concept of models, and in that specific models called foundation models, which is primarily a model that is trained especially by giving inputs. For example, ChatGPT engine, which is engine behind it. So, for example, GPT is a foundation model, right? So the data that is provided to it to train is in the what are all the public data that is available on internet in the form of text, image, speech, unstructured data, spatial data. All these inputs are provided as input to this foundation model, and it is a very huge compute which is running and by to process all these inputs, and then it is also trained to complete some of the tasks, like it can typically foundation models, any foundation model, be it Gemini from GCP, right, from Google, or also any Llama from Meta, right, so, and also any foundation model like GPT from OpenAI, right. So all these foundation models, they generally work on these tasks, so it can do a word completion, right. So in Gmail already we are seeing it, right. So as in when you compose an email, it tries to autofill the value, right. So that is what is word completion. So and then Q&A, like questioning and answering. So if you give a question, it can answer your question. And that's these are tasks, typical tasks in a foundation model. And code completion. Some of the models can be trained on code, and it can autofill a text, right? It can autofill the code, and it can also get the entity extraction. So given this image, what this image is, right? It is the image of a tree or image of a person. So it can detect the does entity extraction from the given input, image captioning, sentiment analysis, object recognition. So all these are the outputs or tasks that you typically get from foundation model. So in this foundation model, right? So there are various types. So there are, for example, the foundation models. They work on text, image, video, audio. So these are the most commonly used. As it said text, for example, entire Wikipedia data or the World Wide Web, right? So that all these inputs will, these are information which are mostly in the text form. They all the foundation models. They, some of them, they understand text very well. Not every model can understand all these types. That's why we have specialized models to understand each of these. For example, ChatGPT works on concept of text, so it understands, it takes input in form of text and output also in form of text, right? So and some foundation models, they understand images very well. So they're trained to understand the image and generate the image also, right? So that, so it is working on it is trained to learn on the form of image, and some work on video, right? Sorry, some work on video and some work on audio. So each foundation model, they're trained to solve input in the form of a specific form, and some can have a combination. Some can work on a combination, but mostly they are specialized in one area. Right? So, for example, GPT-3, what was 3 or 3.5, can understand only text. But ChatGPT 4, which has already come, so was already launched now. This GPT 4 can understand both text and image. So it like how we have in WhatsApp, right? You can upload an image in a WhatsApp, right? So in the chat interface. In the GPT 4, you can upload an image also. The older version of a GPT, or it is you don't have an option to upload an image, right? So, but in the GPT-4, it can upload an image. It's called multimodal, they call. So, so yeah, I can do both, right? So, similarly, at some point, very quickly, we will introduce video also there, right? Right now, video is not supported. Video and audio also it can support. Right? So that's various types of foundation models. Okay, so these use cases, so foundation models, they are specific. They are, I mean, when it's a foundation model, it's not specific to ChatGPT. It can be anything is foundation model, right? Any engine behind a GenAI, be it Google or be it OpenAI or whatever, right? So every foundation model can solve these use cases. Um, so, for example, in the form of text, right? So mostly the ChatGPT use cases, right? So ChatGPT use cases, mostly it can generate a marketing content. So you can say, for example, I want to give a RFP for a customer, right? So you are trying to sell your product, right? So you can ask ChatGPT to give the context. Okay, this is a product that I'm selling. I want. Can you give a super duper marketing content? It can generate a content for you, right? Sales, right? It can. I want a super email with all the features, and can generate a sales data. And this is sales data, and can you summarize all this information, right? It can generate that. So chat or email, right? So it can. I'm a support person. I want to have I want to send an email saying that this is the issue and this is a summary of the issue. Can you formally write an email, right? So it can write an email for you, like general writing, right? It can give any article and ask you to generate a content. Note taking. So there are in we are in our organization, we are using Gmail, right? Google Workspace is what we are using. So in that there's a feature where it can be in your office calls, and at the end it can give a summary of you write an MOM, minutes of meeting for you, right? So it basically it acts as a silent partner in the conversation, in the calls, understand the context of various people, and then at the end of it, it summarizes the minutes. And so basically note taking. So it takes the notes. Who is talking what? Sham spoke about Gen A, and Srini added their content to it. And likewise, it can summarize the content, where it's just like another listener in this call. You can summarize the content, right? So that these are the various common use cases that typically comes in the category of text. In the category of code, right? So it can also generate a code. The GitHub Copilot, right? So GitHub Copilot or AWS Whisperer, right? So all this are code generation content. So it can generate a code. You can just need to give a comment. I need a, I want a I want uh, for example, right, I want to write logic to generate the data, read the data from a file and then print it, right? So it just need to give it in a command in Java or whatever language, right? And then it writes a code for you, right? And also code documentation. It can generate a inline code documentation for you, right? And then text to SQL, right? So you can text to SQL. Say I was looking at Microsoft product which is called Copilot for SQL database. In Azure, they're introducing a lot of Copilots now. Copilot, like how GitHub Copilot is there. Microsoft also now releasing a lot of Copilots for specific services or in Azure. So in that there is a Copilot called Copilot for Azure SQL Server, right? So in that, it is actually replacing a database administrator that in the olden days. So you can basically ask this tool to give me um, can you this is my query which is taking time, can you optimize it? It can write, it will take that SQL query and then it will optimize the code and give it to you, right? So and also it can why my database is running slow, right? It basically it looks at the current running queries and then give you where it is taking more time. So all this are and you can also test. I want to get the data of the last 5 years, or what is the sales in the last 5 years. Can you bring it, right? So it just can create a natural language and it can translate that to a SQL query behind the scenes and get the output for you. And also you can say that you can depict this entire information in a pie chart or histogram, right? So it can generate the data in a histogram. So yeah, so like there's a lot of tools in the coding area. It is very popular. So and then there's some um, AI tools which can do a web app development, right? It basically can. I saw one use case where that is a product actually. So probably behind scenes there will be some foundation model could be there, but actually it is you can design a website. Basically, you're giving input saying that I need an image in this size 30 by 40, and this image should have this content, right? It generates the image and puts it in the screen. Okay, can you do a left align? Can you do a right align, a center align? Just so all this typical HTML commands you can give it to it. I mean, it can type it, so it will auto aligns and the code, and then you can see the live output on the screen, right? Basically, you're generating a website on the fly giving instructions, right? So generally we do this when someone develops it and comes for review. We tell, okay, can you align this image this place? Can you make it small, make it big? All this something that we give typically to a developer, and developer will note this and then work on it and come back, right? So, but it is doing live now, right? So it can. Yeah, that's very interesting use case. So it can generate a. Yeah, it is scary also. It. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yep. Continuing further, right? So this the use cases are image generation, right? It can also generate an image. It can consume the image, media, advertising, and designs. All these are very common use cases. And video synthesis, right? You can give a video to it, and then can you edit this section of the video, right? It can do that. So yeah, next is video editing. So video synthesis is more change the tone in the video, right? So that you can change the speech in the video. So that is possible, right? So right now the image is giving a male voice, right? Can you translate that to a female voice? so that it can do it. So similarly, video editing, right? You can it can generate a new video, or you can edit an existing video that is possible, right? So then 3D models and scenes. You can give a scene. Okay, Sham in New York enjoying the spring, right? So you can give that scene to that, and then it can generate a 3D model for you, right? So yeah, like with other spaces, like it is gaming, RPA, music, all these spaces. Since Amari Jane is everywhere, right? So wherever you take it, it is there. So um, I mean, it is it is in fact most of the industries, but I think what I we see is that retail and now after it banking, at least I'm talking from my experience in where industry where we're getting projects in that space. Retail space is heavily using because that's a direct consumer business, right? Wherever it is a consumer where you have direct interaction with the customer, right? In all these spaces, it is making a wave, but especially the consumer space, the retail space is where it is shooting up. Yeah, contact centers. Yeah, 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 yeah. Correct, correct. Just to give one more context, right? I think I'm working for one of the largest client where they're into retail space, Pepsi. So they're they are actually looking at um, GitHub Copilot. They're trying to pilot a GitHub Copilot, where it is actually it comes under this space. It comes as a code generation space, right? So it can generate a code for you. So they are asking to in every IT industry. I mean, there in the IT stream, there's a web developer, there's a data area, and there is a DevOps area. All these areas, they're asking us to compare how this GitHub Copilot can solve the or bring the efficiency in the space. Like eventually, they're asking to come up with what is the productivity efficiency that we get in GitHub Copilot, and all the streams, all the departments are actually trying to pilot this, are trying to look at this. But eventually, the output is once you come back with the numbers, that is going to be a cut down into the respective numbers, right? So. Uh, so that mm, right, mm, right, yeah. I was just really amazed to see the GitHub Copilot. I mean, I was just exploring all this in the space of DevOps, like how GitHub Copilot can help in the area of DevOps. That's where I work, right? So it is interesting to see that it can generate a CI/CD pipeline YAMLs, and also it can generate the Kubernetes YAML files. You just need to tell, I need a Kubernetes YAML for this use case, and writing YAMLs is the toughest part, right? And so it is generating an YAML for you. So it just input is like this is a web application exposed need to be exposed on these ports, and it generate I need a web server also before it have an ingress and all these things. If you give input, and then it can generate a YAML file for you. So and these are my Docker images, right? It can generate a YAML file for you. That is that's where it is straight away we see that that's the role of a DevOps engineer, and that is taken out. And one more use case is currently I work for a company which is primarily into data space. So we heavily use PySpark. PySpark is very common in the data space, right? Um, so now PySpark works on a concept of a pandas data frame where you can generally load a very huge data as a form of a CSV file and give it for the pandas, and pandas will decode that, and then you can write a query what generate a subset of data, and all you can do that. So the PySpark is generally used, is very popular in this space, and now there is a PySpark for English SDK. There's a new launch where it's an English SDK where you need to write the code. You just need to tell in English what is your requirement, okay, and what is where is your data is. Data is in CSV file is located in this place, and what is your output that you're looking at, right? In normal English, if you type, it can generate a code for you. Um, so that's completely taking away the PySpark developer space, right? So that is scary. Um, then No, it is SDK. It is trained on GPT. GPT. Okay, so yeah, correct. Yeah. And other space where in Azure or Microsoft space, the left and right are launching copilots, right? So copilot for this, copilot for that. So um, um, this, I know we just discussed about GitHub Copilot, which can generate a code um, in cloud. So now there's a copilot for Azure is there. Now, the Copilot for Azure is very interesting where um, it works on your Azure resources that you create in the cloud, right? So, one example is the SQL database, right? Azure Copilot for SQL database, so which is very specific to SQL. But this is Copilot for Azure is specific to Azure, where it can look at your usage. For simpler use cases, this Copilot for Azure works in a concept where you can ask a copilot saying that in Azure, can you tell me which resources are costlier resources in the last 3 months, right? So basically, it goes to your costing APIs, understand, get all the three resources which are the um, uh, uh, top usage resources, and gets the cost for you. So which otherwise you should go to manually, you should go to that costing APIs, understand it, and get it. Now with the one prompt, it can give the data for you, right? Uh, it is right now it is in a preview phase, which is free, but eventually it comes with a once it goes to GA, it will comes with a cost. Yeah. But I think that's it is also doing a debugging, right? It is the use case other day which I saw is your application is down and it is using a load balancer, um, and you can say to this copilot saying that my web application is down and it is using Azure this PaaS product, Azure Web Apps, and then can you go and figure out what is the issue? So it basically goes to the logs, your Azure PaaS service logs, and then it can detect from this and saying that this web application is on because of this load balancer is this port is not allowed to, so that's why it is being blocked in from the on this port. And if you activate it, it will solve this problem. Or if you allow the permission to this port, it will work. It is troubleshooting. I was really surprised to see this. Right. So basically it is that's what a typical DevOps engineer's role is, to figure this out, and that role is completely taken by an AI now, right? So yeah. No, this is yeah, that's true. I think OpenAI is a very good space that they entered because luckily ChatGPT also shined. So suddenly the popularity of OpenAI increased, and that's Azure encashed it, right? Microsoft encashed it. So yeah, and they're telling it's very interesting where now this Copilot is coming in the Microsoft products, every product in Microsoft. So Copilot for Dynamics 365. My Dynamics 365 is a Microsoft product which is into sales and marketing, right? In that space, Dynamics 365 is very popular, CRM basically, and and as you know, Word, Excel, all this Microsoft products, right? The Copilot is coming for these Microsoft products, and Copilot coming for Windows. Your Windows 11 next release that you're coming in, Copilot comes along with it, right? So, and there is a Copilot for Azure now, right? So, and GitHub is already there, GitHub Copilot. So it is now going to a very specific to resources also like SQL Server, right? So it's very flagship product of Microsoft. So it is like there's a popular saying like it is a Copilot is like Baskin Robbins, right? In Baskin Robbins you get a lot of ice creams, right? In the same thing but in different colors, right? So that's how it is. Copilot is like treating like a Baskin Robbins of Microsoft. So mm, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and there's what very interesting is now they launched Copilot for security, which is like security is one of the costliest resource, right? In a Microsoft security, the security they keep it generic generally. So yeah, not AD. I mean, it basically detects the vulnerabilities. It can detect like scans. Basically, it is across. Um, so AD is one of it. But basically, Copilot for security. So that is a new launch. So yeah, that's very interesting. So now this AI is entering into every developer space, right? So and very interesting. Copilot for Power BI. So that is a BI reporting, right? So that is also Copilot is there. So literally in every space there is a AI is coming. So um, so yeah. So unless we quickly jump, yeah, 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 yeah. Catching up, yeah, yeah. And I was looking at the Cloud Next, Google Cloud Next, which happened 2 weeks back, right? So in that, Gemini is their biggest equivalent in the GCP space. So Gemini 1.5 Pro. So the Gemini 1.5 Pro is they launched similar to Azure. They launched Cloud Assist, GCP Cloud Assist. Um, so similar to basically it works on GCP resources that is already there, right? So cloud it can understand your GCP resources and gives it can answer questions based on the GCP resources that you already have. Um, so similarly, Code Assist, similar GCP Code Assist, again similar category where it can help you in the coding, right? So basically every product in cloud now coming up with a AI solution. Yeah, that's why it is very important for us to quickly understand this and get into this space. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. Yeah. So um, yeah. So coming back here, right? So this Gen AI, I think this we already know. So we just discovered Copilot, which can generate a code. ChatGPT, we know. Midjourney is primarily works on images. It can generate an image and get the data for you. So there are a lot of applications are there in the market, these are all very popular, right? So now with the context of how we understood the Gen AI, right? I think we just understood what is OpenAI. So OpenAI is these are it is basically uh, this is a company which launched ChatGPT. So I think most of you use ChatGPT, but the company behind this is OpenAI. Okay. So OpenAI is basically a research development company. It is founded in 2015, right? So the mission is to develop a AI system that can benefit humanity. So with this I'm just giving this context because you need to understand how this company evolved. It's very interesting, this ChatGPT, how it evolved and it created a wave, right? So that's where this OpenAI really came popular and a lot of developments happened in the OpenAI space. Yeah, if you look at the history of OpenAI, right? So 2015 is where when this OpenAI formed. It was actually launched as a non-profit organization by Elon Musk, who's a very popular person, and then Sam Altman, so who's no more with OpenAI, but he's the founder of the OpenAI. But now I'm sure you have heard the news that he moved to Microsoft now. But yeah, Sam Altman and Elon Musk together they launched this OpenAI. Uh, yeah, he moved to Microsoft. So the Microsoft, I mean, there's a conflict of interest came, and then he was sacked out of OpenAI board, and quickly Microsoft uh, took him into that. Is back, is it? Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And they're heavy investors of this, right? Like the now the recent news that I heard is that OpenAI, I mean this there are a lot of dependency on this chips now, right? The Nvidia is becoming on the other side. The GPU accelerator, GPU chips are all everyone is going to Nvidia. So and now OpenAI and Microsoft are together launching Starburst, the company, which is primarily a company which generates chips on its own, similar to Nvidia, right? So, so because now the compute is becoming uh, the next big wave now because of the Chat GPT and Open generally GenAI, right? GenAI requires a lot of compute now. Now everyone needs high-end compute. So no more GPUs is only earlier is all only to specialized companies who do R&D, right? Generally they will use GPUs, but now GPU is become a default for most of the companies for to fine tune these models. In fact, right? So now it's become a commodity product, and the shortage of chips on other side where it is also giving problems, right? So now of late everyone is depending on Nvidia to generate this chips for GPU. Now slowly they're trying to reduce the dependency, and OpenAI and Microsoft a collaboration. The some billion investment is there on this. They are going to start the Starburst, which is one which generates their own GPUs, right, similar to Nvidia. So yeah, but yeah, just coming back here, I think um, OpenAI is started by Elon Musk and Sam Altman in 2015, and 18 Elon Musk resigned from this board, right, because of the conflict of interest. Um, and then that's when the OpenAI transitioned into a commercial entity, and that's where Microsoft got into this, and they invested $1 billion in 2019. And they also started a commercial entity moved from non-profit to commercial entity. And then GPT-3 is officially launched in 2020, right? GPT-3 is the older version of right now. 3.5 is what is used in the Chat GPT, but in 2020 they launched GPT-3. And DALI, which is one more another product similar to GPT. This works on images, right? So DALI is also super popular in the area of image generation. So yeah, they launched this in 2021, and then in 2022, ChatGPT, what we know, which created a lot of revolution, right? So that came out in 2022, which is an official OpenAI product. And then Microsoft announced $10 billion on this, and now they brought OpenAI into Azure, and it's called Azure OpenAI. Okay, and it becomes a generally available product, GA, in 2023. So now OpenAI, if you want, OpenAI is like GitHub, right? So anyone can use it. Anyone can use ChatGPT, and they can, an individual can go and buy and use it. All right. So, but you want it all works on your on the public data, right? So, but if you want to make it private, so then option is to go to Azure, right? Azure offers an Azure OpenAI, which is like ChatGPT for your own company, right? If you want to do that for your own data, right? So that's where Microsoft is offering a feature, Azure OpenAI, right? So where it can be within your network, within your boundary, within your data, right? So that's where yeah, this Microsoft partnership which launched they launched 2023. Okay, so at a high level, right? So OpenAI at a high level is basically it is. it has a lot of tools and libraries, and it has also has apps. And then the main interface for OpenAI is API. Okay, so they expose a lot of APIs, and for every use case there's an API. Using the API, you interact with typically an OpenAI model, and OpenAI will internally uses a lot of foundation models, and then it gives a response back to you, right? So typically it is input in the form of all this goes to the model and comes back a response back. So ChatGPT, if you take that, where you use ChatGPT, you're actually using a web UI, right? So it's a UI. The UI that you're giving input is actually when you type something, it is going to an API behind, and it is actually calling your Open API, OpenAI models, and then OpenAI introduces foundation models. In this case, GPT 3.5 or GPT-4, right? So it calls the foundation model, gets a response back via API, and it's shown back in the UI, right? So that's how it works. Um, so if you look at the foundation models in OpenAI, right? So there are these are the very popular foundation models. GPT, as you know, it's Chat GPT, right? So behind the scenes, it is a foundation model is called GPT, right? So basically it understands the natural language and text. Okay, and other one is the DALI. DALI is primarily for image. It generates image and edits image with a prompt input. Um, so so similarly, Chat GPT for images is DALI, right? Um, so Whisper is primarily it converts audio to text. It's mostly into if you give an audio, it translates that understand the audio and translate it into text. That's why it's called Whisper, right? TTS text to audio. Sorry. So this is basically converts the text that you give into an audio. Okay. So these are the popular four foundational models which are there in the OpenAI space. Okay. Right. And this let's go into each of these. And in the interest of time, I think we are. Is it okay if we just complete in our 5 more minutes, or if it is already late, we can stop here. Either way is fine. Yeah. Hottest for in. Uh, oh no. That is there even before. No? Netherlands, I didn't get what is the context? Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, right. So let's go to this GPT, right? So understanding this GPT because this is where your Chat GPT comes in, right? So it uses this foundation model. So GPT, this is GPT stands for this, right? Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So everyone uses ChatGPT, but no one knows what is GPT is. Right? GPT is basically generative pre-trained transformer. It works on an LLM model based on transformer architecture. So here, basically, this model is trained on a lot of data on internet, and it evolved over a period of time, right? So it started with GPT 1, 2, 3.5, and then now 4 is there, right? We're also hearing the news that 5 is coming in 6 months. So, mm, 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 yeah. Mm, 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 yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, so this one actually started with basic, where just started with the evaluation of how this works, right? So it is very basic. Two is more into capable of, it is better than the previous version. And 3.5 really took it to the next level where it it is also exposed to public, right? So GPT 3.5 is what we're using right now. Basically, it is a large model. Which is trained on 175 billion parameters. Okay, and allowing it to generate. It supports the tokens up to 4,000. I mean, very important to understand what is token is. We'll come to that next. Enterprising of any model depends on this token. So I will come to that what is token is, but token is 4,000 is tokens are allowed max in a GPT 3.5, and this limit is suddenly increased to 32,000 in the GPT 4, and also it is 10 times more advanced than its 3.5 version, right? So it means it takes less compute to generate more output, right? So it is better than the previous version in multiple ways. Um, so and as you know, Microsoft is a heavy investor in this GPT, and now they are using GPT into every product in Microsoft, Bing, Office, Windows. I think we discussed about all these co-pilots, right? So they are all into this flagship products of Microsoft. Um, and this just at a high level, this is how this works. So basically, you give input. As you know, we all use ChatGPT in some form, right? We give prompt to the ChatGPT, and based on the input, it does all this. Either it does the word completion, sentiment analysis, classification, chat, summarization, code generation, word embedding. So these are the common use cases that we get in GPT. So I will probably stop with this slide. So the next one is the DALI. The DALI is works on a concept of images, right? So it is primarily work give input in terms of a prompt again here, and DALI will give a scene, for example, and then DALI can generate an image for you. It's a very popular use case in DALI. So now, sorry, but DALI 2 is the latest version, which is available. Again, this is in beta right now. Um, but it works on a conservable diffusion model architecture. So yeah, we'll understand all these architectures, the subsequent slide. There are a lot of architectural patterns that are there. So very interesting to observe this, right? This works at a conservable diffusion model. Okay. Yeah, so this is basically when they launched DALI 1, it is the entire industry of the image generation was stunned to see that. For example, and as you know, um, Photoshop and Adobe, all these are they work on image generation tools, right? So we know all these image generators they generate image using these tools, but now using Photoshop and other things, right? But now uh, you don't have all these tools, right? You just tell a scene to it, and then it can generate an image for you, right? So that's very scary. So the entire all these big industries behind this image generation, and all of them will we have to revisit their product now, right? So now this is in every organization is a pressure in how they can bring AI into their product. I mean, whoever is working on a product, right? So there is a mandate. I was talking to one of my colleague in my apartment who is staying, who comes for walking for. So he was telling that uh, the they're working on a product, and this product is very popular in the space of um, the retail, and there's another product in in the healthcare. So in both these products, the mandate from the head of the department is to bring AI in the next 6 months. Okay, so now they're seriously exploring all these products which are available and which is best suitable and all. So yeah, so in summary, every product like how Microsoft and Google and Amazon they are bringing AI into every product. Now every product company is under pressure to bring AI into that space. So yeah, so that's where industry is going towards. Yeah, so I think we should also catch up there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Yep. Okay, I think let's continue this in the next session. I think the people in US it is already late. Okay, let's continue this tomorrow next week. Yeah. I mean, is it? I mean, one thing is, I'm okay to have this every week, but again, again, I want to give this to the wider audience. Right, right, yeah, 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 yeah. I will talk to the, yeah, 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 yeah. Sure, sure, sure. Uh-huh. Uh, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I also work for retail in my current project. So that's why I'm telling in which industry it is really taking the hot cake is a hotware business in the retail. So that is one industry is retail. So that's where it is a direct exposure to customer, right? So as long as your customer is happy, you get more business. So they are making the search, which is the biggest problem statement in the retail space, right? When you have a lot of products in Amazon. So searching a product and comparing with another product equivalent, right? So this is a very common use case in any industry you take in the retail space. So that is where GenAI shines. As you rightly said, this product comparison is very popular use case. Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.